think it's fair to say that whatever happens at West Ham, whoever we bring in, even if you change every single person at this club and bring a whole host of new people in, right, we are still West Ham. We are always going to be West Ham, which always means that there is drama lurking around the corner, always some sort of chaos that's lurking around. Do you know what I mean? It's unbelievable, this football club. So we've had a good week in some regards. You know, we've got a new head coach in, not manager, head coach in Julian Lopetegui. Great that he's finally been confirmed. Obviously, we knew it was happening. But on Thursday, it was 11 o'clock. The club officially announced it. We got all the videos come out. I've got to say, really impressed with him. And I appreciate he's only talking at this stage, but he comes across well. I think that's fair to say. I like what he's got to say. And this is something that I talked about in a previous video in regards to Lopetegui's announcement from the club, is that I wanted Tim Steidten to be firmly involved in it. And the club have gone beyond that, in my opinion, actually. I was expecting it to be a little bit about Steidten, more about Lopetegui, but it's actually very 50-50. Steidten it's clearly that they are presenting them as we wanted them to, as this team. It's Lopetegui and Steidten. Now, I appreciate I'm going a little bit off topic here, but the reason I'm saying this is that, great, you know what I mean? You're seeing all this media stuff, you're reading it, you're watching the videos, it's all over the news, etc., etc. You're starting to get a bit excited. I'm thinking, this is looking pretty good. I'm getting excited for next season. And then, of course, on that same day, the FA decided to announce that they are going to charge Lucas Paqueta formally for what he's been alleged to have done in regards to getting deliberately booked, which was it's been 9 to 10 months since it was announced they were investigating the situation. He was being looked into, of course. It scuppered his move last summer to Manchester City, which we saw as a bit of a bonus for West Ham, didn't we? Let's be honest. At that time, we thought, okay, this might not be a bad thing. We get to keep Lucas Paqueta for another season. It's not the end of the world. And I don't know about you, but I kind of felt that nothing would come of it in the end. It would probably go on a little bit, because unless they found some proper firm evidence, but it was quite obvious for after the first few months that they probably haven't got any evidence, because there was no charges were coming. And you're thinking, well, okay, it's rumbling on. But as a West Ham point of view, considering the fact as well, we had a release clause that was in place this summer, it felt like, okay, do you know what? We'll have him for another season. Nothing's really going to come of this, I don't think. And then we can then sell him in the next summer. It kind of felt like a bit of a win for West Ham, actually. This summer, though, very different. Very, very different. In that they formally charged him. They've actually now gone ahead and charged him. There's two sides to this, as far as I'm concerned. And we're going to provide a bit of an update on it. And it's not good. I'm going to be honest. It's not great. But it depends how you look at it. It depends what sort of angle you want to look at it, because this is really complex. I'm not a lawyer. I don't understand these things really. I'm trying to read into it and understand what the rules mean and the gravity of the situation. I mean, when you're disrupting the sort of the integrity of the game, when you're doing something to actually effectively do a bit of spot fixing, it's very, very serious. It is incredibly serious. They take it. As we've seen it, even just players placing bets on matches. They're not even involved in these matches, but just placing a bet in the matches, they get, that can come with a severe punishment. So to actually do spot fixing in matches you're obviously playing, etc., that is a whole new level, and it's really serious. What Lucas Paqueta is being charged with is massively, very, very serious, and it's got some serious implications. But as I say, there are sort of two sides to look at. The first side I look at is what I've sort of touched on already, is that the FA have taken 9 to 10 months to charge the player. If you remember, it was only a couple of months ago that Lucas Paqueta and his team effectively threatened the FA and to sue them, to say, well, if you're not going to charge me, I'm going to sue you because you are costing me my move to Man City. You're affecting my international career. You're affecting everything. My career is on standby while I'm waiting for you to come up with this evidence of me apparently breaking rules. Okay, and the FA, I think this is how I look at it a little bit, is that they've probably called his bluff. They've just thought, well, let's just charge him. I mean, I don't know. We don't know. The thing is, it's all a little bit guesswork because we don't really know what the FA have got. My feeling is, though, if the FA had got something, they would have come forward surely sooner to charge. Do you know what I mean? If you're investigating a murder, that's for instance, and then you've got concrete evidence that someone's done it, you wouldn't sit on it for 6 months, would you? Thinking, well, let's just wait until the end, and then we'll think of charging him. You just go, right, we've got the evidence, bang, let's charge the player. So the fact is that Paqueta and his team have effectively called out the FA. Come on then, show us what you're going to do. The FA have effectively responded to that. So that from a Lucas Paqueta and possibly even a West Ham side of it, that's how I'm seeing it. That's quite positive. You kind of think, well, you probably haven't got anything, and you just thought, well, we'd embarrass ourselves if we dragged it on this long and say, well, we're not going to charge you. So why don't we just charge him anyway and see what happens? I'm getting the feeling that's possibly what happened. But as I say, that is slightly guesswork because I don't know. I'm not in these rooms. I don't know. Maybe they have got something concrete, but I just doubt it. I doubt it because I don't know why. It's unlikely, isn't it, that they found really hard concrete evidence now. Why has it taken 9 or 10 months to find concrete evidence now? Surely you'd find it pretty quickly. If you've dug out some text messages or emails, you'd have thought they'd have found this out a fair while ago. And bearing in mind, it isn't just the FA investigating this. I think West Ham have investigated it, as far as I understand it. I think the FIFA are involved. There's lots of parties involved in this. It just seems a bit odd that all of a sudden they're charging him. I'm struggling with it in terms of that. But that's not to say, of course, that this is going to blow over. I'm very, very concerned. And this has got the potential to turn really, really ugly. So let's just quickly talk about what the FA have said. So the FA have said that he's been charged with breaching rules E5 and F3. The player has been charged with 4 breaches of E5.1 in relation to his conduct in the fixtures against Leicester City, Aston Villa, Leeds and Bournemouth. I've seen the clips of these. We put them on the West Ham Way Patreon. If you're not a Patreon, go and check it out. Link below. That's our sort of main channel. Where you get ex-WH employee Dave Walker, you got Sam Delaney, Martin Allen, you got loads of content on there. It's brilliant, and you get discounts to events and all these sort of things. It's brilliant, and it's literally £5 a month. You can't go wrong. And that's, by the way, and also you get an ultra membership as well, which I'm a part of as well. Do a show on that. But let's go back to this. So basically, I've looked at these videos of these yellow cards. A couple of them don't look too bad to me, to be honest. I think he looks like he's going for the ball, and he looks quite annoyed actually that he's been pulled up for it. And then a couple of them look very suspicious. I've got to be honest. The one against Leeds is ridiculous. You can kind of see he's just got out to get a booking. It doesn't look great at the moment. It doesn't look good. The interesting thing as well with these charges is Lucas Paqueta has also been charged with 2 breaches of F3 in respect to alleged failures to comply. So basically, they're suggesting that Lucas Paqueta wasn't forthright in helping the investigation, which is completely contrast to what Lucas Paqueta has officially said. And I believe what West Ham actually feel the case is as well. I think that West Ham feel that the player has actually been very cooperative. I think the club have tried to be cooperative. So that's a really strange one, that they're charging him with effectively not helping proceedings. I'd like to know what that means and exactly what they mean by that, because surely that's an easy one to prove. Do you know what I mean? And the fact they're charging him with it suggests that something hasn't been quite forthcoming from Paqueta. Maybe that he's been reluctant to hand over information, possibly. Maybe he delayed, but guessing, maybe something like that. Maybe they've asked him for a laptop and he said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you at the end of the week, and he's taken a couple of weeks. I don't know. I'd really like to understand what that means exactly, because that reads, that's quite bad, actually, I think. I mean, obviously, you've got these terrible charges that are hanging over him regarding the yellow cards, but to suggest that you're then not helping in an investigation, that implies quite a lot of guilt, doesn't it? That you're being reluctant to help. So I'm struggling. Let's be honest, if you're innocent, right, for anything, you're going to absolutely help the investigation, aren't you? You're going to absolutely desperately try and clear your name. So you're going to go, yes, look into my records. Yes, absolutely. Here's my phone. Here's everything. Do what you want. Do you know what I mean? You're going to be absolutely open. So the fact, if you're not being open, doesn't look good. Like if you're saying, well, hang on, I'll give you my phone maybe later. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't read very well to me. So that's actually one that jumps out at me as more concerning than the actual yellow cards, just because I think, well, if you're not helping, then that's a sign in my eyes of guilt. So they've said basically that the player has until the 3rd of June to provide a response. We understand that he is going to deny the charges, of course, and to challenge it, which is absolutely understandable, because Paqueta's stance is this. He said, I'm extremely surprised and upset that the FA has decided to charge me. For 9 months, I've cooperated with every step of their investigation, and I provided all the information I can. I deny the charges in their entirety, and I will fight with every breath to clear my name. Again, that absolutely contradicts what the FA have said. The polar opposite. I have been working with the FA. So as I say, that is the one part of this I really struggle with, and one I really want to get to, a clearer understanding of what's happened there, because that should be, because if Paqueta has been withholding evidence, that's a real big problem. And I think as well, it casts doubt in my mind and probably yourself. You know what I mean? Like you start thinking, why would you be doing that? Why would you be holding information back? Why would you be uncooperative? Because surely, if you're innocent, as I've said, there's no reason for you to be uncooperative. So I am struggling with that one. But as I say, let's wait and see. As I've said, there's two sides. One side, as I've explained, I think that it seems a bit like they're a bit desperate. They're calling out Paqueta's bluff. They're going to give it a go. They're going to throw it at the wall, see what sticks. That's my sort of initial feeling. But I'm really worried. I'm not going to deny it. I am really, really concerned. I think this is worrying for West Ham. West Ham are standing to lose best part of £100 million here. Because we can't sell Paqueta, which is not good. I mean, I've got to be honest. I feel the time is probably the right time to sell Paqueta now, because he comes across not the most happy player in the world, I would say, this season. And I appreciate people go be shouting this the video now, going, "Oh, but it's because of David Moyes." And I'm sure he'll do well under Lopetegui if he stays. I'm not annoyed if Paqueta stays, but it's, can he play for West Ham? I just don't know. It's difficult to understand how this is going to pan out. But I'm really concerned. Sean Whetstone put up a tweet yesterday, and I then looked into it regarding Keenan Isaac. He played for Stratford Town, defender, in 2022. It's not talking long ago. He was banned for 10 years for his part in a spot fixing during an FA Cup tie. 29-year-old played for the Southern League club in a 5-1 defeat. He was later alleged he was deliberately booked as part in a betting scheme. He got 10 years ban. Now, it's the difference that we've got with Paqueta and someone who will do respect like Isaac is that Paqueta is incredibly wealthy, and he will have no doubt the funds to have the best lawyers and to fight this. He's not going to take it lying down. But that just shows you the gravity of the punishment. A 10-year ban for getting a booking in a game deliberately. 10 years. It's worrying. It's really worrying. Very, very worrying. And just welcome to West Ham, Lopetegui, because this is what you get. Do you know what I mean? He must be walking thinking, this is all I need. Our most expensive signing in our history. I mean, can he play for West Ham this season? I don't know. I don't know at this stage. But there is a little bit of good news regarding that. A little bit of good news regarding that. So, if Paqueta is found guilty and is therefore they want to hand out a punishment, let's just say by the end of this summer, they find Paqueta guilty and he's banned for 10 years. I'm just saying, let's imagine that, like the Isaac one. And let's be honest, Paqueta's done this 4 games, apparently. 4. That's only in 1 game. So he could be facing 40 years. I'm just doing that, the pro rata in there. But you know what I mean? Let's just say, theoretically, that Lucas Paqueta is given a 10-year ban. Now, what we understand it now, and this is again from Sean Whetstone, is that Lucas Paqueta's representative have the option to appeal any punishment handed out by the FA and the Court of Arbitration for Sport, headquartered in Switzerland. Considering the potential punishment, he would further have the option to appeal to any decision at the European Court of Human Rights. It therefore could drag on for years. Now, the interesting thing will be is if Paqueta is found guilty and then appeals, can he still play football? That's the big question. Because if that's the case, then it might not be a bad situation really for West Ham, because it might just mean that, okay, we can't sell Paqueta, but we can keep him and utilise him. However, there's one thing to note, that if Paqueta gets a punishment that's beyond his contract, West Ham have every right to terminate his contract and sue the player, which, if you're West Ham, I think that's a viable and probably another path to go down to consider, because West Ham be thinking, don't need this. This is an absolute headache. If he's not going to, especially if he's not going to be available, if the player is deemed, let's just say, if he's banned for 10 years, he then decides to appeal, but you can't play matches during your appeal, then West Ham really would have to sue the player. Well, would certainly have to terminate the contract at a minimum. But West Ham can't swallow £100 million loss, surely. I mean, it's crazy. And people might be saying, watching this, thinking, well, isn't that really harsh on Paqueta for a club that stood by him? I mean, I'm not saying I wanted to go down this path, but ultimately, it's breach of contract, isn't it? Paqueta would have signed a contract suggesting that he would never do anything like this. So West Ham are absolutely within their right to seek compensation from the player and his team. So this really has the potential to get really, really ugly. The best outcome is that the FA haven't got any real concrete evidence. It goes towards a panel. They don't find him guilty. We can then sell him onto Man City. We move on. We get the £100 million, all that kind of stuff, and we can, or 85, 90 million pound, and we can move on. That would be the ideal scenario. The other scenario is the player gets charged, but we can appeal it. But in that time, he can play for West Ham, and we can just utilise Paqueta while this run was on, which might mean that he could even see out the rest of his career at West Ham while he's continually challenging these things. It's not ideal, that one, because you don't want a constant distraction in the background. We don't want to constantly be in the news at Paqueta going in and out of courtrooms and all these kind of things while we're trying to play our football over the next few years. It just won't help. But that's one of the other scenarios. And obviously the third one is that we just terminate the contract. He's found guilty. We terminate his contract. And I'll tell you what, if it goes down that route, West Ham are going to be seeking compensation, and it could turn really, really nasty. This is a really delicate matter. It's difficult, isn't it? It is a lot of guesswork, but my word, it is very much typical of West Ham. But look, I don't want this to be a huge cloud over us, because this is a really, Paqueta stuff aside, this is a really exciting time for the club. So I really do want to try my best to not focus too much on this, because, of course, this is going to dominate headlines a fair bit. But West Ham have got a lot to do. I'm really impressed with Lopetegui. I think he's come in and said the right things. I love the fact that he's working alongside Steiten. And with this Paqueta thing, we've just got to really sort of keep our fingers and toes crossed that it pans out the way we need it to.